We promise we're professionals, but we're also a little judgy. Here are some petty and hilarious and totally avoidable things we side-eye every time we walk into a listing. I'm here with Jennifer Sells, Sells team with EXP Realty today. Thanks so much for being here, Jen.
I love it. I love it when we get together and we talk about these fun subjects, these fun real estate subjects that, everybody needs to hear. It's not often that agents get together from different brokerages because in our industry, so people are so competitive. You and I have a different philosophy on life. I think we like to talk about things that are going on in the market and make each other better. Doesn't matter what brokerage we're in.
Yeah, I agree. I think we like to learn from other realtors that we think are professional and experienced. And I've definitely learned a couple of things from you. And yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want to just keep getting better? It's a mindset thing. It's about
Keep getting better.
Yeah, it's about abundance and not about competition. I mean, there are so many people in the world. There's so much business for us both. Jen and I are not in competition. But we're gonna sit here and we're gonna blab about stuff that we're judgy about in listings, which should be kind of fun.
All right. So how many seconds do you have, right? Or how many seconds does your listing have the moment somebody steps out of the car for a buyer to decide whether or not they are going to purchase that listing?
I feel like I've seen the statistics and it's something like 3 or 5 seconds.
Well, you're close, right? It's 8 seconds. You have 8 seconds from the moment that they step out of their car. And then you have another 8 seconds once they are in the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when your buyer steps out of the car, they've already decided pretty much whether or not this is the house for them, right? And then when they step inside the door, you get another 8 seconds. And there's a few reasons why, and I think we're going to discuss them right now.
Well, and I think some of the stuff, so in that 8 seconds, you've probably heard, just like the old real estate adage, location, 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 you've probably also heard about curb appeal, right?
Yeah.
And so that 8 seconds when you step out of the car, that is all of the curb appeal right there. And so, for example, if you've got a yard, now landscaping can be expensive.
Right.
I get that. Not everybody.
You can keep it clean without spending a fortune.
Yes, you can use some elbow grease and a lawnmower and you can get it looking decent, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Decent.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a bucket of cigarettes sitting by the front door,
Gross. Gross.
or there's a big dog that comes down your street every single day and leaves you presents in the front yard. If your daughter backs into your garage and there's a huge dent, all that subconsciously says to a buyer is that you don't know how to take care of your home, right? And we're talking about subconscious here. So if they are looking at your home and it looks like you haven't taken care of it, that's what it means to them. So they've already ruled out your home, right?
These buyers are about to drop hundreds of thousands of dollars. They don't want to feel like they're shopping at a scratch and dent sale,
So let's go inside.
So let's go inside. And in the 8 seconds,
yeah,
that's what I like to do when I walk in.
All right, so I'm going to say something.
What do I smell?
I'm gonna say something that's gonna get me kicked off of her podcast. But there is a comedian out there. His name's Hal Sparks, and he does this thing with Charmageddon is the name of it. And he's like, well, your cigarette smoker tells you that they don't smell anything. Well, how convenient for you. The first thing to go as a cigarette smoker is your loss of smell, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can smell it. Trust me, we can smell it, right?
Man, yes, I can smell it. And I can also smell pets. And I think that's partly because I live without pets. I think that people, just generally, right, there's always differences, but I do think there's a good number of people that if they're living with dogs and cats in their own house, they're less likely to smell it in a listing. But I smell all of it, except for that time I had COVID and I lost my sense of
So
smell for a while.
The trick to selling your house if your house stinks is to give COVID to all the agents that are coming. Just kidding. Don't do that.
Oh man, it's tough. The smell thing is so tough.
Change your litter box. Get your carpets professionally cleaned. If you had a cat that sprayed the walls, you're gonna have to kills the walls, kills the baseboard, kills everything, the subfloor, replace it, get rid of that cat. No, give it to your aunt or something while you're selling after you fixed everything, because the people that walk in your house, they smell it and they are not gonna buy it.
No, it makes it so difficult. In fact, I sold a condo a couple of years ago that had such a bad smoke smell. I was just praying for a smoker buyer. Like that, I felt like that was all I could do because we had done in a condo building where it was shared HVAC. It wasn't coming from that unit. It was coming from neighbors who were smoking inside their homes. And so there was nothing that we could do to alleviate it. We had painted, we had done the floors, we did all this stuff, but the smell was not going away. And so at some point I just started praying for a smoker buyer, which reminds me of Glenda Baker's story about the house that had this great backyard, but it backed up to a busy street. And so anybody who went out to check out the great backyard was kind of like, this isn't really that great because there's all this road noise. And they ended up selling it to a deaf woman
person who didn't care.
She thought it was great. Yeah. So there's a buyer for every house, but the point, or not the point, but one of the tricks in selling your house is to make it as neutral as possible so that it appeals to the most amount of buyers. So let's just like shoot out some of these things that are non-neutral things that are going to
dirty light switches.
Gross.
Dirty baseboards. Because when you walk in, when you're thinking, what do people do when they think? They look down. They're thinking in their head, and what do they see? Your baseboards, right? And then we walk it through and you look up and all the return air vents are dirty.
And the ceiling fans have a thick layer of dirt and debris.
The paint lines where they did it themselves and they got it on the ceiling. Or
on the trim.
Or even better, I didn't take a listing because of this. They painted a 2-story great room, and they got with their extending roller. They got
didn't finish.
They got all of it like a foot or 6 inches from the top, and they didn't finish.
They quit.
What?
Or they put a different color paint in every room. That's fun. Sure, if you want to live that way and you want to let all your kids paint their room, that's fun.
Right, if you're in Boulder in an art commune, right, and somebody's going to buy one of those. But everywhere else, stop it.
No, I mean, do whatever you want to your house. That's part of the fun of having the house. The point is, when you sell it, it's not your house anymore. You need to make the house attractive to the most amount of buyers.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to do that is to have it flow, to have it feel good, to have it neutral.
Well, how do you feel
Can't wait.
How do you feel about 5 or 6 kinds of flooring? So you walk in and there's tile, and then there's carpet, and then there's laminate that touches wood, that goes to a different color carpet, that goes to a different color carpet in every single bedroom.
I was just at a place like that last weekend.
I'm constantly in a place like that.
I don't, and you know what it does? It screams DIY. So you can do DIY to your house, but I would caution you to try to do it well. Because when you go to sell, sure, you have made these updates and maybe you save some money because you did it yourself, but you are shooting yourself in the foot.
You didn't save anything. You cost yourself.
You cost yourself, because now you're either going to have to sell it for a reduced price because the buyer has to come in and fix all that BS that you did in a crappy way. Or you're going to have to redo it in order to get it ready for sale.
I see one on the list here that looks very specific. So she's obviously dealt with this one before. Let's talk about the man cave and the horror something.
Oh gosh, yeah, the man cave. So I've gotten to where I write into my contracts for sellers, like they need to remove any valuables. They have to remove anything religious. They have to remove anything, family photos, to neutralize it. But again, it's really fun to be in your own house and decorate it the way that you want.
Just when you're getting ready to sell it, let's depersonalize.
Yeah.
If we want the buyer to envision themselves at your house, not envisioning you living there.
And it's
right?
difficult for a buyer to walk down into the basement. They already have their own ideas about what they want to do in their basement. And they get down into the basement and they start looking around at your man cave or whatever kooky thing. It's all movie posters. It's a room full of baseball hats. It's bowling trophies everywhere.
Yeah, just pack it up.
Yes,
Pack it up and put it away. And I love it. Speaking of another agent that does these TikTok videos, social media things, she talked about one day how she had a husband and wife, and they went to a house, and the wife loved the house. She was so in love with the house. You know what I'm about to say, don't you? And so she was envisioning her couches here and her chairs there. And they walked into the master bedroom, and there was a very, what's the word? A very risque poster or a picture of the wife above the bed.
Oh, yes, I remember that story.
Same agent. Anyways, and so the wife looked at the agent and said, "Let's go." And she said, "Well, wait, I thought you loved this house." And she said, "We will never live here." And it was because the husband walked into the bedroom and his eyes lit up, and the wife felt like he would never see that bedroom different again.
No, every time he walked into their bedroom, he would be thinking about the seller's wife who was naked on, in her photo in the bedroom. Yeah, you can't. You just can't.
You got to pull it down.
Yes. So we've been talking about, photos. So we've been talking about in the house, but if we back it up a little bit to the listing, because buyers are initially shopping online. That's the first, point. So the photos, not having any photos, only having a few photos, having crappy
Photos that you took off your cell phone with no flash.
A picture in the bathroom and you can see the person taking the picture in the
GoPro
in the mirror.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. There's other things, right? But all of these things, you have to take yourself out of your own bubble, and you have to look at your house for the first time as a buyer and understand the things that you need to do. Nobody wants to buy somebody else's problem. You know what I'm saying? So overgrown grass, messy paint jobs, DIY nightmares, right? No, they don't want to. And what's going to happen is you're going to end up having to sell to an investor, and it's going to be approximately 30% below market value when you don't do it right the first time. So just pride. Let's have some pride.
Yeah, sellers, it's not your house anymore. That's kind of the blanket statement. Another thing I'm judgy about, I wrote this down because I actually just saw it. I was setting showings, I think, yesterday, and I came across a listing that was listed at 605, and I just immediately judged because I thought, oh, that listing agent they're not doing a great job for their client, because who sets their search parameters to 605? No one does. No one. So at 605, you are now missing every buyer that has their search parameter capped at 6. And so for $5,000, you just left out a giant swath of buyers that could have been interested in that house. Now, if you're on market for a few weeks and now you're talking about price reductions, the minute you do price reduction number one, you're already disadvantaged. You already have a stigma. Everyone's already now starting to talk about why didn't it sell?
Which, by the way, I think is very weird in this market because honestly, 32% of all houses that sold in Denver recently, and I'm going to date your podcast right now, but 32% of all contracts that go under contract right now are falling out of contract in Denver. 31.8% in Colorado Springs. We're the top two in the nation, number one and number two. Then it goes to like Seattle and Austin and some other towns, right? So yes, if it comes off the market and goes back on, that's already a stigma, which I wish that the buyers could get over, right? But, price drops, I think we should get over as well. Because sometimes people believe, or maybe the market was at that, and then the market has been dropping across the board, so they're reacting to get it sold. I wish that we could get rid of that stigma, but whatever.
Well,
it is a fact, right?
Yeah. And I would just say too that like this high, you were talking about how many deals are falling out of contract, but there's also this high percentage of listings that have price reductions. And that is, I think, just indicative of our market right now and how we're sort of course correcting. We are a balanced market for the first time in decades.
Yeah.
And so it's because, sellers are wanting to sell for as much as they can, and buyers are like, oh, it's a buyer's market now, so we want to buy down here. And so the price reductions are part of our sellers getting on board with what's going on in the market right now.
100%. I agree with you 100% on that. But anyways, yeah.
So what do you think about 15 throw pillows on the bed? Are you judgy about that? Or
it depends on how it's done.
It could look cute.
I was a merchandiser at the Great Indoors at once in my life, so my beds are elaborate, but I don't think I have as many as you're thinking about, right?
No, and staging can be really cute, but sometimes staging is a little over the top, like stuff that just doesn't, it's fake. Know it's fake. Nobody has a tray of lemons. I don't know. I guess comment if you have a tray of lemons.
Well, I mean, if you're on that diet, right? The one where you throw it in the Vitamix every morning and you put some ginger in there and it's supposed to, anyway, I'll be quiet.
Oh, you know what? Another one. So the exterior of the house, we're walking around, we're on a showing with buyers, we're looking at the exterior, and I am looking at downspouts. And this is your pet peeve recently too.
It's a huge, okay. So, and I'm going to jump just slightly. But do you remember a few years ago, Denver got hit with rains, more rain than we have ever had in the history of Denver. Well, what happened is two years later, our structural issues in Denver Metro, especially Littleton, Brighton, our structural issues went up. The structural companies had 75% more repairs this year and last year than they have ever had before, because we had those monumental rains. And what I don't understand is why our sellers and our people in general don't have the education that our downspouts need to be put away from the house. We do not want water on our foundation, right?
I know. And the thing that I'm judging about that is people will have a downspout extender, and oftentimes these things are annoying and they're in the way. And I get that. Right. And so they bend it up and they do this, which you should be able to do in case you need to, like to mow or whatever. But the problem is they do this and then they leave it like this. So now what's happening to all the water that's coming down that downspout? Instead of going away from your foundation, it's going right next to your foundation, or the extender is just completely gone.
9 times out of 10, right?
Yeah. And I just look at that and I just think, so I can see this. I can see that I don't know how long water has been coming down next to this foundation. I don't know how long. But if these homeowners / sellers aren't even able to do something as simple as put an extender on and make sure that water's getting away from their house,
how difficult is the deal going to be?
What else have they not taken care of that we can't see and we don't know?
Right.
I mean, I don't want to gamble on that. So yeah, I'm kind of judgy about downspouts.
Yeah. So let's see. We've covered pretty much all of it. The solar, that's a whole episode on itself. Because solar right now is not a benefit to a house. We can talk about that on another episode, but like you basically have to pay that off to get the loan because now your buyer has to qualify for it. It doesn't usually save that much on a lot of these solar systems. They want you to pay $175 a month plus the energy bill that you're getting because it doesn't even utilize the whole thing. Anyways,
I agree. I saw a listing the other day and it said in the notes, solar will be paid off at closing. And I was like, thank you.
yeah.
Because every listing with solar that says, you know, the buyer's going to have to take over the solar loan or lease. No. Why? You made that decision. You put the solar on the house. That's your responsibility.
Yeah. Which brings me to the other statement that I say often to my buyers. Their deferred maintenance is not your issue. If their roof is bad, it's not your issue. If they have a foundation problem, it's not your issue. They're like, you just have to get them to fix it because they ignored these issues for years. Now it has to be fixed. I'd like to sell my house, right? But I have to replace all of my windows, right?
Oh, that's expensive.
Yeah. So it's not going on the market until I replace all the windows, right? Because my deferred maintenance is my problem. It's not the new buyer's problem, right? So anyways,
So yeah, I mean, we've gone over tons of pet peeves, you know, pet peeves, things that we judge in a listing when we see it. And so now we throw it back to you. What have you seen at a listing that made you walk or made you say nope? Tell us in the comments. Thanks for being here, Jen.
thanks for having me. And I totally didn't even cover like the pole in the in the bedroom, or you know, like
The stripper pole.
I showed up to one time to a listing and they had the handcuffs hanging off the bed, right? Like
During showings?
during showing.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
If you like this content and want to support the channel, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go.